Under our What's New article, you'll be able to see the recent updates to Snap projections to keep up with the changes. Under your initials, you'll be able to access your user settings and your billing information. Also, within the top menu, you'll be able to access Advisor Notes. Here you can add notes that are only for you, perhaps notes about where you left off in creating the projections or things that you want to discuss with the client next time. We're going to go over to the scenario setup. Let's check out the assets page. Here we have the ability to enter a DCPP, an FHSA, and also enter specific matched contributions. So I've added a DCPP for Justin, and under this tab, I can see that I have the option to select the jurisdiction for the account, update the conversion age, and even unlock a portion of this account to an RSP at the time that's converted to a LIF. This will depend on your jurisdiction. If you haven't selected a jurisdiction, Snap will default to the province that the client lives in. Next, we have the First Home Savings account. Enter previous details about the account if it's already been opened. You can link a home to it for a future purchase of a home and automatically use that account towards the purchase. We have the employer matching, where this DCPP I've set up to be linked to Justin's employment income with a 2% employee contribution and a 5% employer contribution. How does that look on the planning page? Here we have the employee contribution, the employer contribution, and they're black. I'm not able to edit them. Remember, if they're black, that means you're going to have to go to the scenario setup page to edit them. We also have that account being unlocked at retirement, and the income will go into the RSP directly as a transfer behind the scenes. So back to the scenario setup. Next, we can take a look at insurance. You can directly access the insurance help page using the About This Page button. You can add permanent policies, whole life, and universal life policies, or term policies. For permanent policies, you'll need to enter the details for the death benefit, cash surrender value, and the premium directly into this input page. You can copy and paste from an Excel illustration. You can also type the amount right here. Once you've selected the beneficiary, if it's the spouse or the estate, and if in your projections that spouse passes away before the end of the projections, their estate or the other spouse will receive the income into their projections at that time. For term policies, you can select various different terms, or you can directly enter the age that this policy will go to or the year that it will go to. We also have life needs analysis. You would go ahead and enter inputs to do with who's insured, what's the analysis horizon, how much income do they need, what are the debts that they need to cover, what are their available resources, and then Snap will provide you a summary of the total life insurance required and subtract out any available resources so that we'll see what is the extra life insurance required. And I can even check out the details about that and adjust things like the survivor income before tax over time or their spending needs over time. And that will adjust how much extra life insurance is required. Next, we have the education module. Here we can add an RESP, either a family RESP or individual RESPs. I'll check out the one that I've already added here for Justin is the subscriber, setting up the automatic contribution and withdrawal so that Snap will use the details below in this table to do those automatic contributions and withdrawals. So based on the claimed grant for each of them, the projected education cost and the inflation, when they're going to start the RESP, and then how many years of education they have. If I go back to the planning page, we can see that section. So here's that family RESP. The contributions will come from Justin's cash flow. but the withdrawals will go directly to the children, and so these withdrawals do not affect Justin's cash flow. The balance of the account is shown here. The withdrawals in this final year for Jess is not quite enough to cover the projected education cost. So in that case, we could create an additional expense for Justin if he was going to cover that difference. You can also adjust the rates of return for the account, or perhaps enter a larger contribution in the first year, and this is all editable by you. Next, we're going to go back to scenario setup and take a look at the settings. We have portfolio settings for Justin's non-registered account. So his fixed income portion of his non-registered account will just generate interest, but the equity portion will generate what we have here: capital gains, Canadian dividends, and foreign dividends, and the annual portfolio turnover is set to 5% by default. How is this reflected in the projections? Come back to the planning page, and under the taxes section, we can view the taxable income details, and this section in the center provides the annual information about the taxable income from the investment income. These values will change depending on the portfolio settings that you have and the asset allocation that you've set up for that non-registered account. Right here, Justin has 40% fixed income and 60% equity. Next, we have the cash balance. This is typically not used because you're going to be allocating any surplus to the existing financial assets, and hopefully they're not running into a shortfall. But if they do, Snap will borrow money at this rate to help them maintain their spending. You can adjust both of these settings. Next, we have the income taxes section, where you can choose to apply the tax credits by default or deselect them. You can add additional tax credits, tax deductions, and benefits from specific ages to specific ages. You can deselect that there won't be paying EI premiums, or that perhaps they're paying double CPP for also covering the employer portion. And finally, we have the charitable donations. This is not enabled by default because if you're not using it, it does add additional complexity to the scenario. First, enter any unclaimed donations for the previous 5 years. Next, on the planning page, you can make those charitable donations. It's a new section that opens up here. If Justin wanted to make charitable donations, we can copy that down as a cash donation, or we can also create non-registered account donations. Over here, you see there's a new column for donations, and there's also insurance donation options. To see the difference in the plan based on those contributions or based on those charitable donations, we open the details to see the difference in his taxes with and without donations. Lastly, you can export your projections to Excel using this button. Exporting from the planning page will download an Excel file that has a sheet for each of combined, the client, the spouse, and the corporation if applicable. Exporting from scenario setup will provide you with a download of an Excel file that has all of the input parameters. In the next video, we'll discuss the add-on feature for stress testing your projections.